This is our segment where we kind of highlight the top players for the 2015 NFL Draft. And we're going to spotlight the wide receivers and tight ends. Not that the Saints are going to be looking at tight ends, but a big wide receiver would not be surprising early in the draft. You see my list right off the top. I think these 4 wideouts are all going in round 1. Amari Cooper from Alabama, Kevin White from West Virginia, Devontae Parker from Louisville. And we've seen way too much of Sammy Coates at University of Auburn. Max Williams, the big tight end from Minnesota, I think will end up being a first-round pick, John. I think just a big tight end can make plays downfield. Then Dorian Green-Beckham from Oklahoma, even though he never played a down at Oklahoma, he was a former Missouri wideout, I think will also go in round 1. And then 4 other players going in the second round. Devin Funchess, wide receiver, tight end, combo guy from Michigan. Jalen Strong from Arizona State. Josh Harper, looks like Fresno State punches out these guys each and every year. And the speedster, Devin Smith from Ohio State. It's a list that's not as impressive as a year ago, but I think what you're looking at is 9 wideouts. Only 1 tight end on that list. 9 wideouts that will all go in the top 62 players. Goes to show how much this game is pitch and catch.
Well, like you made a comment about how Fresno State's putting out some of these guys. Well, the West Coast guys like to throw the football. We all know that. That's style of offense that a lot of these teams go to. And it's not spread and run so much as spread and throw a lot. And you get a lot of these teams now are having 2 receivers on their roster that they can go to. And now they're getting these guys now in the NFL draft. You look at these drafts these days in the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of wide receivers, Mike, are up there. The Saints picked one last season. A lot of guys, you can't go wrong by having a buku of receivers on your team when you're throwing the ball that much, and that's what the NFL is going to now. It's an offensive league. Throw the football around, and you got to have a flock of receivers, and they're all coming. If you notice, Mike, a lot of guys don't go being wide receivers in high school anymore. Put me as a receiver because they got a better shot to get that when they go down the road and play in the NFL.
I do think too it's how to have a give and take a little bit from the defense. Because at one time, if you had a 6'3", even a 6'2" guy, you were playing defensive end, outside linebacker in high school. Now, you got an athlete that can run. Oh, you playing wide receiver, you playing in the slot, or playing almost like a hybrid tight end in high school. Today, I mean, it changed the world completely. And I do think the other thing you see in that list is how many kids from the Deep South. Now, years ago, the receivers were coming out of the West Coast, or you were getting something from the East. Now, we've seen it last year. We see it again this year. LSU, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham. You look with Alabama, with Amari Cooper in this year's draft, with Sammy Coates in this year's draft class. And you can see it each and every year. Ole Miss with Treadwell, when he's going to get healthy, he's going to be a early pick. Mike Evans from Texas A&M. That the South now shooting in all these players, wide receiver-wise, because now they're throwing the football a lot more in the Deep South than they've ever done.
You're right, Mike. And the kids that they're looking at, too, are either 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", who can run, catch the football. You know, they go one-on-one, and when they get a chance to meet up with NFL teams, and you look at him and say, this guy's got to be a first-round pick. And look at the stats he's put at a Southeastern Conference, or either somewhere in the South. Louisville's in the South as well. They got a good wide receiver there. But you're right. These schools now are starting to throw the football. You see in the SEC, we keep saying the SEC when we say the South because that's what we deal with. Yes, the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Ole Misses. You know, South Carolina's had a couple good wide receivers. But
Sean Jeffrey.
Look at some of these coaches that are at these schools. They like to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game, and now they're starting to catch up with some of the other schools, get the receivers, so people are recruiting receivers now. Beforehand, it was mostly defense in the SEC. Now they say, wait a second, we can get some wide receivers in the SEC who can go off to the NFL.
Another thing, too, is the intrigue player here is Dorian Green-Beckham from Missouri. And he went to Oklahoma. He never played a down at Oklahoma. And I don't think anybody really thought he was going to play at Oklahoma at all. He's declared early. Talk about a big-time talent. I mean, he was a good freshman player. He was a dominant sophomore player. He gets himself. He's had numerous incidents off the field. Now the big question mark, if you're an NFL team, especially late in round 1, you know that this guy probably would have been a top 10 or 12 pick had he not gotten in all the trouble. If you're picking deep into the 20s or say even a 30 or 31 pick, you got to take a look at a 6'4.5", 225-pound wideout who's just kind of a football puppy from a growth standpoint. From what I mean is route running skills. Right. Man, you see a big target, you're going to put him on your football team. Man, if I'm the Patriots and I got a shot at Beckham, I'm going to pick him late in round 1.
Well, it also depends on what team's picking this young man, what kind of coaching staff, and I'm sure all NFL coaches can handle certain individuals, but when you got a Belichick handling a guy like that, he'll go there and lace it up, while Belichick's going to sit you. He'll pick you, but sit you. So, you got a good shot if you are a late round pick that's got a little bit of issues. Certain teams will pick, players with issues. And, we won't know what this player brings to the table yet, but he's young and talented, so give him a shot.
He was the #1 recruit in the entire country when he came out. Another guy, too, is Devin Funchess from Michigan. And, man, a lot of people maybe haven't seen him, but he's a bit of a hybrid player in that he played tight end at Michigan, and they moved him out to wide receiver. And I think this is a game of matchups.
Right.
You get a 6'6" guy going up against a 5'10" corner. That 5'10" corner ain't winning a lot of those matches.
No, I totally agree. Jimmy Graham, 6'6", 6'7", ex-basketball player. This young man will have a shot because if you're 6'6", put him in a slot position, who was a tight end / wide receiver. I mean, what more can you say? The teams are starting to go to 6'6", 6'7", slot guys, tight ends. They can put on the outside. There's not a 5'10", 5'11", maybe even a 6-foot guy can probably cover these guys.
And I know I'm getting old in this business because Max Williams' dad is Brian Williams, who ended up being a late first-round pick of the Giants in the 1980s. I scouted the dad. Now I'm scouting the son, Max Williams, who ended up going in round 1. So I feel young sometimes, but I know I am getting older when I see the son of the sons end up playing. We'll have a lot more here on the John Fourcade Show. Sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. Go ahead and say it.
Feeling young and looking young with you is
two different things. Right.